Hey, what's up, everyone? John Manson with a Seer Red. Back to talk about the Bowling Green Falcons, week 3 for the Liberty Flames. Obviously, 1-1, coming off the season opening win over Maine, 28-7, and then the setback last week at Jacksonville State, 34-24. Kind of talked a lot about that Jack State loss. Go back to and listen to our podcast from this week, and also check out ASeerRed.com for lots of reactions and takeaways throughout the week from that game. Obviously, a lot to kind of dive into and break down from that one, and something we talked about last week about how important that game was in the Conference USA Championship race, and now Liberty, losing that game instead of feeling really good and sitting in the driver's seat for CUSA Championship game appearance for the second time in 3 years. The Flames, got to improve themselves, make some improvements in all facets of the game, offense, defense, and special teams, and also going to need some help. I mean, Liberty could win its last 7 Conference USA games, go 7-1 in conference, and not even make the Conference USA Championship game, depending on how the rest of the season unfolds. But again, it's early September, moving towards mid-September right now, so it's a long way to go. You just got to focus on yourself and improvement, and keep moving forward. And now Liberty steps out of conference play for 3 straight games, 3 straight weeks. Bowling Green, obviously James Madison and Old Dominion, the next 2 games, which are going to get a lot of fanfare and already have. So Liberty's got to really focus as a team. Obviously the coaches, I don't think they'll have a problem doing that, but the players really got to lock in and focus on Bowling Green and not be worried about what's coming next week with James Madison, or even after that with Old Dominion, or even, Conference USA Championship and all the outside noise and detractors that they have, over the past, over the course of this week. And, that's just something you have to learn to do as an athlete. The higher up in competition you go, and certainly at the FBS level, playing college football, that's something you got to do, because this could have been a game that you could see as a trap game, kind of sandwiched between a huge conference game last week and a huge rivalry non-conference game against James Madison that's already sold out, that's upcoming. So that could be an issue. I do think coming off the loss to Jack State, the coaching staff should have a much easier job of getting the team's attention. Also, you look at Bowling Green, 1-1, coming off a loss at Cincinnati. It was a 2-score game. So I think, the team should be able to look at that outcome, that result of Bowling Green being very competitive with a power conference opponent, a Big 12 opponent, and, just coming up short, and, should get the team's attention. So hopefully that's not an issue. I think it would have been more of an issue, more of a cause for concern coming off a win over Jack State, but we'll just have to see. As for Bowling Green, obviously the biggest storyline around them is new head coach Eddie George taking over there. He didn't get there till March, so it's kind of late in the coaching process, coaching carousel. Normally that's done in December, maybe early January, but not until March. Scott Loeffler, previous head coach, had a very successful tenure. Last 3 years, made it to a bowl game. He moved on to the NFL, quarterback coach of the defending champs, Philadelphia Eagles. So Eddie George comes in. He returns to not his home state. He's from Pennsylvania, but Ohio, the state of Ohio, where he made a name for himself at Ohio State, winning the Heisman Trophy back in 1995 before going on to a very long and illustrious professional career with the Tennessee Titans. Now George is, he was a Tennessee State head coach the last several years, had a lot of success there, and has now made his way up to the FBS level. And, MAC teams typically, and Bowling Green under Eddie George is no different. Like they're kind of similar to the Big Ten style of football, pro sets on offense, where you can, pass the ball, but also use the tight end, multiple tight ends. You like to run the ball, big physical lines, big physical team. So that's something Liberty's going to have to deal with. Bowling Green's been very good against the run and stopping the run in each of their first two games. The win over Lafayette in week 1, an FCS opponent, and then their loss to Cincinnati. They've also, so they've shown some ability to stop the run on defense. And their defense, I should note, is led defensive coordinator. The son of Jeff Fisher, who is Georgia's coach in the NFL at Tennessee for a long time. His son is now the defensive coordinator at Bowling Green. He was a defensive coordinator at Tennessee State under George prior to coming and joining him in Ohio this year. So, he's obviously got a football acumen and background, and is going to look to be having them. They're giving up 20.5 points a game, which is solid through the first two weeks. On offense, Drew Pyne is kind of the name to know. He's a quarterback. You always start with the quarterback when you're looking at the opposing teams. Pyne is on his 4th Division I school. He's been at all power conference schools prior. Started at Notre Dame for 3 years. He started 10 games in the 2022 season. Then transferred to Arizona State, and then was at Missouri last year. Started at least one game each of those last two schools, and now he's at Bowling Green, where he's started the first 2 games, and he's been pretty solid. He doesn't have not much of a rushing threat. Negative 16 rushing yards when you factor in the sacks through the first 2 games so far this year. But he has thrown at least one touchdown pass in 5 straight seasons, the longest active streak in the nation. Last week in Cincinnati, 29 for 36, 274 yards and a touchdown. He's completed 76% of his passes so far this season. Bowling Green as a whole has not turned the ball over yet, whether that's through the pass game or fumbles. So they've played well, right? Played with themselves, have not beaten themselves, seem to be well disciplined and well coached. And it kind of starts with Pyne. Like I said, he almost passed for 300 yards last week against Cincinnati. So they have the ability to throw the ball. Obviously, he was highly recruited, ended up at Notre Dame, and like I said, started 10 games for them. The running game has been a little bit up and down. Like, they had some success week 1 against Lafayette, not so much last week against Cincinnati, which can be expected. But Eddie George, with his background, obviously a very physical, bruising back, and being a running back, he's probably licking his chops a little bit this week after looking at that Liberty Jack State game film and seeing how Cam Cook ran all over the Flames, and they kind of out physical the front Flames on that side of the ball, and ran for over 300 yards. So it's going to be something that Eddie George and the Falcons are going to be looking to do on Saturday in Ohio. Cameron Petaway is kind of the guy to look out for. He's a redshirt freshman. His first touch of the football in college was a 98-yard touchdown return on a kickoff, the opening kickoff of the season, which is the 2nd straight year Bowling Green has done that, run back the opening kickoff of the season for a touchdown. He's leading the team in all-purpose yards. He's 16th in the country with 149 all-purpose yards per game. It's a Petaway we're talking about on the ground. 21 carries for 107 yards through 2 games so far. And like I said, he's also the team's kick returner. Pyne has kind of spread the ball out a lot so far. Tight end Jaron Johnson, top receiver. He was 7 for 80 and a touchdown against Cincinnati. So you see that Pyne and Johnson kind of created a connection, certainly at least in week 2, and that's something that'll probably continue, and somebody that he'll be quick to look towards this week. Bowling Green had arguably the best tight end in all college football the last few years, last season, and Harold Fannin, who kind of made a splash in NFL circles in week 1, where he had a nice debut last week. But Fannin had 8 100-yard receiving games last year, led all FBS tight ends in receptions, receiving yards, and touchdowns, was an All-American. And now Johnson's trying to step into that role and had some success last week. So you definitely got to watch out for the tight end in the pass game. And other than that, Pines kind of spread it out to a lot of different receivers. Like I said, Bowling Green, they're solid on defense, solid on offense, don't seem to hurt themselves. At least they haven't through 2 games. They're competitive against Cincinnati. They did fall behind 21-0 late in the first half in that game before, trying to make a late rally, and couldn't ever really get closer than 2 scores, ultimately falling by that margin. They also, their kicker was 4 for 4 on his field goals in the season opener, including a 56-yard field goal, which is tied for the longest field goal in program history. So it seems like they got a good special teams unit, good kicker as well too. So this, in summary, this is a team that doesn't beat themselves, right? They're well coached, they're well disciplined. Don't turn the ball over. Haven't done that yet this year in 2 games. They can do everything okay to good. Maybe won't overwhelm you in athleticism or in any one facet of the game, but they're solid in all facets: special teams, defense, offense. And on the offensive side, in the pass game and in the run game. Liberty's got to be paying attention to its scouting report this week and making sure it's doing what it's being asked to be done by its coaching staff. And I think also ultimately this is, a game about Liberty. Like, Bowling Green can beat you. Liberty can also beat itself. And I think that's kind of what happened last week at Jack State, is Liberty beat itself. I feel like if Liberty, plays within itself, doesn't turn the ball over, wins the turnover battle, doesn't make boneheaded decisions in the return game or on special teams, is solid in the kicking situation, whether that's kickoffs, kick return, field goals, extra points, all of that. Penalties, you're going to have some penalties, but not ones that are backbreakers, not ones that take points off the board or end drives. Those are sort of things we got to watch for as Liberty fans this week. Is Liberty's got to take advantage of that. So not hurting themselves, because Bowling Green's not going to. And if you put yourself behind the 8 ball with turnovers, penalties at inopportune times, and just bad decisions, poor decisions, and whatever facet. I'm thinking of the kick return game, but anywhere, you got to make proper decisions, good decisions, to not hurt yourself and to hurt your team. And let's get out to an early lead, right? Liberty has been playing from behind in 15, 16 straight games. I mean, all 12 games last year, and then obviously the Fiesta Bowl. So what's that, 13 plus 2? So that's 15 straight games Liberty's had been trailing at some point in time. And some of those games last year were significant margins. We're able to come back and pick up some wins. Think about like a New Mexico State or an East Carolina. But I like to see Liberty get out to a lead, right? Establish the run game, control the line of scrimmage, control the time of possessions, get some early points up on the board, get out to an early lead, and kind of control the game, play from in front rather than having to play from behind. And Liberty certainly has the talent and the ability to beat Bowling Green. I mean, they wouldn't be favored by nearly a touchdown if they didn't. So let's see if that's something Liberty can do this week, and play from ahead, play a clean game. Some of those things may be more important than the ultimate final score. Although as I said on the podcast this week, this is it's as close to a must-win game as you can have, especially in non-conference in early to mid-September. If you drop this game, you fall to 1-2. The first time Liberty's had a losing record at any point in the season in several years. I mean, I have to go back and look, probably since before COVID. Maybe Hugh Freeze's first year, where he went 0-2 to start off his first 2 games at Liberty. So it's been a while. So But not just that, so that would hurt, the maybe could potentially hurt the team chemistry, but really the confidence of this group and this team. And then add to that who you got coming up the next 2 weeks, where Liberty might be an underdog, probably will be an underdog, depending on how it goes this Saturday at Bowling Green, to both James Madison and Old Dominion. ODU's got a big game against Virginia Tech before having a bye week. Both those teams have a bye week before playing Liberty. So Liberty's got to focus on the task at hand, not look ahead, and then really need this win for confidence, moving forward into those last 2 non-conference tests. And then, at that point in time, things can turn around. And another thing that I don't think I mentioned this week is one of the tiebreakers in Conference USA Championship race is your computer rankings. I think it's a blend of 4 to 5 different computer models. And if you happen to be tied with a team that you didn't play in the regular season, aka a Western Kentucky, who Liberty does not play, if you end up tied with them, you don't play them in the regular season, it could, and neither team is ranked in the CFP, which is one of the first tiebreakers, which wouldn't be likely. Both teams already have a loss. And Western Kentucky would at least have one more loss if that happened, because they'd have to have at least one conference loss, to be tied with Liberty. But if that happens, then the tiebreaker goes to, the national rankings, a blend of those 4 to 5 computer rankings, which we'll talk about more as the season goes on in more detail. If that's something that looks like it may be in play for Liberty, but that could be. And how do you improve those computer rankings? Is by, picking up some wins in the non-conference. So, Liberty's got, 3 straight good opportunities in non-conference play, and it begins Saturday at Bowling Green. Really looking forward to Liberty, like I said, getting off to a good start, playing smart, playing physical. You heard Coach Chadwell talk about needing the defense to swarm to the ball. You're going to have some missed tackles, but as long as you got the guys, swarming to the ball, they might break that one tackle, but the second, third, and fourth guys on the way, and they're going to get you to the ground. That's not something we saw last week against Jacksonville State. So hopefully that happens this week. So make sure you're following along, See Your Red, on all your social media channels, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, right here on YouTube as well too. Follow us, subscribe, like the video, share it with your family and friends, and some of those who may be Liberty fans that maybe new Liberty students that are just getting into the team. Be sure to share this with them, and the rest of our content, obviously, head on over to seeyourred.com. Lots of coverage there as well too. We'll be making the trip to Bowling Green on Saturday, so looking forward to being there and covering it in person. And hopefully the Flames can come back with a W in the win column. Talk to y'all soon.